Hey there, it's Steve from Serious Keto, and I have done an awful lot of keto bread reviews. One that I haven't done, and it's probably my most requested bread that I haven't done, is Inked Bread. The reason I haven't done Inked is it is a regional bread from the West Coast. However, I was recently in Oahu, and one of my viewers hooked me up with a loaf of both the white and seeded Inked Bread. Now, I ate a fair amount of it while I was there, but it's not really a review because I didn't test it the same way I've tested every other bread, which is to eat some just plain and see how the texture of the bread is, and to toast some, and more importantly, using a Dexcom G6 continuous glucose monitor to test my glucose over the course of 2 hours to see what impact, if any, the bread has. In terms of macronutrients, they are largely the same. The only difference is the seeded bread has 15 more calories per slice. Total fat, you're looking at 1.5 grams. Total carbohydrates, 11 grams, of which 10 grams is dietary fiber for a net 1 gram and 4 grams of protein. In terms of ingredients, if you are strict clean keto, if you believe that anything that has the word wheat in it is bad, then this product will not be for you. However, the wheat contained in this is either a starch or a protein. But I just wanted to throw that out. Let's take a look at the ingredients. We have modified wheat starch, water, wheat gluten, wheat protein isolate, soybean oil, not a fan, wheat fiber, and 2% or less of inulin, yeast, vinegar, salt, stevia leaf extract, calcium propionate, and sorbic acid. In all my prior reviews, the way I've tested bread is I've had 2 slices. One slice, just plain, room temperature, the other toasted with butter. Now, whether this is the perfect way to test keto bread or not, it's the way that I've been testing, and I want to make sure that I stay consistent. However, I want to taste both of these types of bread at the same time, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut each piece in half, have a half a piece plain, and a half piece toasted with butter. First, the white bread. The texture on this is fairly springy. It tears, I would say, not quite as much as sourdough bread. It's not that sort of clingy, but a little bit more so than like Wonder Bread. Initially, the taste on this was kind of bland. It ends almost a little bit sweet, kind of interesting, and a little bit tangy. I don't know if that's a combination of allulose and vinegar, but it's decent. There is a slight powdery texture in my mouth, and I've picked that up from some keto breads in the past as well. Next up is the seeded bread, and this seems to be sliced just ever so slightly thinner than the white bread. Tears a little bit more easily. I definitely like the texture more. Those seeds add a little bit more heartiness to it. It doesn't have that sort of powdery feel, slightly powdery feel in my mouth that the white bread did. It's pretty solid. But now I'm going to toast them and put on a little bit of butter. All right, the bread toasted up pretty nicely. Sometimes it's hard to tell in the lighting here and the white balance on my camera, but this is toasted and buttered. And one of the reasons I like to do this test is some of the keto breads do not behave well in a toaster. Either they don't brown, or that's usually the case, they don't brown. But then, when you butter them, very often they start to dissolve. This buttered like regular toast. I'm going to say that was just sort of okay. I think as a sandwich, I might almost prefer this white bread just untoasted. There was something, it didn't crisp quite as much as regular toast. And now the seeded. Again, the texture, once toasted, just seems a little bit off to me. It's almost like it sort of falls apart a little bit in my mouth as I'm chewing it. It doesn't require especially forceful chewing. That's, I think, the best way I can describe it. And this is a little bit weird because pretty much every other keto bread I've ever tasted, the toasting and buttering made it better. In this case, I'm going to say, didn't quite experience that. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to test these the exact same way I've tested every other bread, which is I have a Dexcom G6 continuous glucose monitor. I'm using the levels analysis software, which I will link to down in the description below, and I will monitor my blood glucose continuously over the course of 2 hours. I am in a fasted state. My starting blood glucose is 90 and is stable. And over the course of these 2 hours, I will not eat anything else. I will not do any exercise. I will not do any other confounding factors that might impact my glucose results. And when I come back, I'll show you those results. It's been a little bit over 2 hours since I ate that bread from Inked. Now let's take a look at the Levels Health app and see what the glucose impact was. Levels scored this a 6 out of 10. So that is a moderate rise in glucose. We'll go to details. There was a 24-point movement in my glucose. Now, generally 30 points or higher is considered a spike. This wasn't a spike, but it was starting to sort of get into that territory. Now, it has been my experience that anytime you add additional protein and fat to a product like this, it will further blunt the glucose response. So I'm sure if I made a roast beef and cheddar sandwich with some mayo, I would see a lower glucose response. Still, at 24 points, that's getting right on the threshold of whether or not it's acceptable to me. Additionally, I'm not a big fan of the soybean oil. I think furthermore, I had mentioned, if you're clean, strict keto, you probably wouldn't eat this. But also, if you're counting total carbs instead of net carbs, I think the fact that you're looking at 11 grams of total carbs per slice, that probably takes this off the menu for you as well. For me, I think if Inked bread were available locally here in Wisconsin, I could see myself eating the seeded version from time to time as a treat. I still don't feel that I've settled in on one perfect keto bread. Perfect in terms of ingredients, in terms of price, in terms of size of the servings or slices. What else? Price, oh, and glucose response, obviously. Fingers crossed, though, that eventually as more and more companies are making these breads, we will eventually find a nice, clean, quality keto bread. But until then, I hope that this video helped you out. If it did, please click that like button. If you're not a subscriber already, tap that subscribe button, then hit the bell to turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of my videos. I think that's it, though. Thanks for watching. Oh wait, I almost forgot. Big thanks to Mark in Oahu. Thank you for hooking me up with this bread so that I could do this review. I really do appreciate it. And now, thanks for watching.